one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And David, do you want to introduce yourself, or do you have any comments?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, thanks. Just watching. You are so welcome. I'm glad you come. So we have no public comments. Let's take a vote. Everybody got that in the packet that was mailed out? So I need a motion to approve the minutes from the December 11th meeting.
Here.
Oh.
Okay, Jessica,
And I'll second.
and second with Ken. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
Perfect. Any opposed? Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to the trustee reports. And I do want to thank you all for coming. It is so cold. So I'm glad you all made it. Let's start with the chair's report. And my business will go under old business at this point, which is tuition reimbursements. I don't have anything else at this time. And now the treasurer's report, Natalie?
None of us got our reports for some reason, and I think because of the holidays and whatnot, it didn't even occur to me. So we'll have to table that until next month.
Okay. Director's report.
We're flying. We're flying through this agenda. All right. So first, I'll just ask if anybody has any questions about what I wrote in the director's report. I have several other things to bring up, but if anybody has anything to comment on the report I wrote, no. Head shakes. Head shakes. There wasn't a lot. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of days that we're not opened around the holidays, so there wasn't a lot for me to report. But since we've been back, a couple of things to bring up. So Natalie had noticed before, or been told before, that at Endicott Park, one of the little library at Endicott Park had been taken down and disappeared, and I contacted them and they needed to repair it. So it is back up. I got notification that the little library has been repaired and is back up at Endicott Park. So that was good, at Endicott Park. So, and I think I put this in the report anyway, but this is the time of year in the middle of January when the town asks for me to submit a budget narrative, so just basically what we've been up to at the library, and then also a metric. And so I did put in your packet my metric. I haven't sent them my report yet, but it is... I'm like, I have it. I have a copy of it too somewhere. Anyway, it's a little sheet with
This one?
with this one. Yeah, there's a little bar graph on it. And it comes, so we use circulation as our metric. And so and I just thought it would be nice to share it with you guys. So as you can see, so they have 2023, we were around 200,000 circs. And last year for FY24, we went up to 206,000. So that was like a 2.7% increase. And this year, then they asked for this year so far. And so we're already up. So it looks like if it doubles, then we'll be at 218,000 at the end of FY25, which is a 6% increase. So it's actually really heartening to see that we keep going up. Not all libraries. I did a little just sampling of looking some other of the libraries in the consortium and their numbers, and not everybody's numbers are going up. So some are, but we are doing like a nice little steady increase. I do credit the staff in general for that. Like, we do a lot of good marketing. We have like lots of great books displays that we're doing all the time. I have lots of people, Jillian doing community outreach. Like, she sees, 40 something people every month that she's bringing, some of them dozens of books to. So I think that we're doing a really great job and just even the people like I have a lot of staff who are doing the selecting of the materials. So obviously they're selecting things that people want. As well too, so I think just we're doing a bang up job is what I want to say.
Yes.
So, and I keep expecting it to level off. Like my prediction this year was that it was going to level off, so that we actually had an increase. I was surprised, and that now we have an even bigger increase. Looking like so far is to me even a better surprise. So I'm really happy that we're doing so well and continuing to increase our use of the library and materials. So I think that's fabulous. So I just wanted to point that out. As a great little metric. So I got Donna and I both got an email from Christy, our old ex-trustee, and so this Saturday, and Saturday always feels like the worst day to do this, but I will send an email after this tomorrow in case anybody's interested, but she wanted to make us aware that there's a free training for trustees specifically about accessibility and public libraries. And so it's a webinar, and it's going to be this Saturday at 10 a.m., like a 90-minute webinar, which I just, I don't know.
Say where?
It's going to be online.
It's online.
It's online. So I will send you the link for it tomorrow, and you can decide whether you can watch it or not.
And we do not have to go out in the cold.
Yep, you don't have to go in the cold for not, but I'll send along. It's free for us as Massachusetts Libraries members as well. So she just wanted to put, but we are trying to increase our accessibility at the library, and so she thought that it would be very informative for trustees if you have the time to be able to watch it. I don't think it's going to be recorded, but I'll find out in case that's an option. This is also legislative breakfast season is coming, so that means that around the state, all different libraries in different regions have a breakfast where they invite local legislators to come to the breakfast. So there's a breakfast. There's food there, and then different people from the different regions will go. So like different library directors will go, any staff members who want to go. It's usually a very nice, little inspiring time. It's a way to showcase libraries in the area. Julie came last year to the one, and the year before that too. I think the last 2 years, I think you've come to them. So it's good. You get to see your local legislators. Usually, Sally will go, and Joan, if she can, and other local people will come as well. And you get to showcase the libraries. You get to talk about what we're trying to achieve, what kind of funding priorities there are, et cetera. So it's a really great little event. Nice little mixer. Great time to tell stories about the impact of libraries to people and to our legislators. So they're all over the state, but our local one is going to be at the Marblehead Library, which has just been renovated, brand new, and it's going to be on February 7th from 8 to 9:30. So I will send, as well as this link that I'm going to send. So it's a Friday. They're always on Fridays for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. So I will send, along with the link to this webinar, I will send the information about the breakfast, because they do like people to register in advance, so just they have an idea of who's going to come. So I'll send the registration link for that as well, in case anybody can come to that too. So I will be there. It's always a great event. And yeah, just sort of nice to mix with your local legislators and other ones as well. So that's coming up. The other thing that I literally just got an email about, so the town got a grant to do an equity assessment for the town employees and the policies and procedures and all of that stuff. So this is going to be just for employees of the town. I haven't heard if it's going to extend to the boards or not. It might, so I'll let you know if that is included. The early information I see is not saying that, but just wanted you to be aware that this is going to be happening. So it will be, I just have the FAQ. I still call them facts, but the FAQ. So, they obviously just want to make sure that they're measuring their progress, addressing areas for improvement, sharing responsibility for DI across the organization to enhance both our internal culture and the service we're providing to the community. So it's going to be an outside group called Tangible Development, and they will be doing an online survey for employees of the town. So they're going to encourage everybody to fill out the survey. And, we as supervisors or leadership are not, going to know what the survey who sent in what survey results or anything like that. But there will also be some focus groups that they will be having as well about this. So I'm just letting you guys know that is happening and I think that's a good positive thing for the town to be doing. So that's going to be coming down the road fairly soon. It's probably a fairly short survey, only like a 10 to 15 minute survey that they'll be having. So I'll let you guys know if you get to do it too or not. I'm not sure, but that is coming along as well. And I already did the metric thing, and so I think those were all of my additional pieces. I had a lot of additional pieces this time. So does anybody have any questions or anything else about that? Go ahead, Julie.
I was pleased to I was pleased to read that Richard Trask was able to come in for a couple times, or
Yes.
is everything good with that, or?
Yeah, so he's, I mean, there's still mobility challenges, I guess, we'll say. And so he's just, figuring out how everything is going to work for him to be able to come back.
But it's good that was able to come in.
Yeah, no, I was really happy that he was able to make that happen. He made sure to come in on a couple of days where Julie Silk was also going to be there to help him out and everything. So so we're kind of navigating how that's going to work, and I am working with him because if he does decide to come in regularly on a day, right, because right now you're doing 3 days of work from home, and whether that replaces a work from home day or something different, we'll have to work out with the human resources. But right now, that's we'll work that out as he's able to. Yeah. So. Well,
it was good to read that he's able to start to come back.
Yeah, he was very happy, very, very happy to be back in the archives. Yeah, it's his other home, right? So, yeah, so it's good. Anything else anybody has? Yes.
I personally like to compliment the library staff when I read your report about the incident involving unfamiliar man outside the library causing a problem.
Yes.
It's nice to see that the library staff is not afraid to contact the police.
Yes, yeah, that was, and it was interesting, actually. I happened to be at the desk when the other couple that had interacted with the gentleman in the parking lot happened to come in, and they mentioned it to me, and so I got actually their story from it as well. But it just unfortunately sounds like, somebody, a homeless gentleman who was probably suffering a mental health episode, by the end of the day. That was taking out some frustration on unfortunately people in the lot.
It's nice to see that they're not afraid to call.
Yeah, no. I do
we
try
don't
to
bother them, but.
Oh no,
nice
we try to encourage that, but if there's something going down, the police are there to help. And the officer who helped us was wonderful, and I actually talked to him later. He called me later to clarify some things. As well. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate that things like that happen, but, it is a public building. Anybody can come in. Yeah, that includes all the people. So, and it was good, the person who came in to kind of tell me what was going on is somebody I knew regularly who comes to the library. So she was like, let me tell you what's happening in the parking lot right now. So, so that was good that it was just handled as well as it could be, I think, at the time. Anything else? No? Then I will say that's the end of my report.
Can I just ask?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'd be happy. I was very pleased to read the language for the programming policy.
Yep, we're going to talk more about that in a hot minute.
Further. Okay, so
yeah.
I won't get in front of that then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's going to be on the agenda in a hot minute.
Okay, thank you.
Real
All
hot
right.
minute. Okay, so no other questions for the director's report or comments? Okay, so we'll move on to old business. And the first part of this, the tuition reimbursement / scholarship, I have to fall on the sword for this one. Someone in my family had been very ill. We spent Christmas Day in the emergency room. They're still sick. So I didn't spend as much time as I would have liked getting ready. So we do have to have our meeting. I'm going to table this until next month. It will happen by next month. So I will, if you all can stay in that subcommittee for just a few minutes after the meeting, let's pick a day while we're all here.
Great.
And make sure this happens. Okay.
And we are, I obviously expressed to before the new year there was possibly no chance of me getting to anything, so it's okay that it's this year. So.
All right, it will happen. We need to get it done. We don't really have to until closer to May, but I'd like to get it done sooner than later and have it in place. Okay, and then the next part of that will be the policy update.
We'll do the.
You want to do the programming policy?
Yeah.
So that's okay.
That's all just one.
Forget that.
Line.
Okay, new business. Let's move to new business now. The town budget goals feedback.
Yes, so I had included in your packet, so this was sent to me from the town, the draft budget goals that they have every year. So there for you to look at and let me know if you have any comments or not. The answer can be no, we have no comments about it. It looks great. Or if you have anything, and I will relay back to the town anything that you say. So tell me, is there anything that you want to say?
And we talked about the fees for the Noble went up, and that's why that's a net negative.
Oh, no, this is just,
Oh, this is just, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Oh.
this is just the town's budget goals, yeah. The town's budget goals. Just their narrative, yeah. Anybody have anything? Looks good.
No, I thought it looked good myself.
I mean, I think half of it's what it was last year anyway, and
Right.
then it's, just I think they just tweak it.
Mhm.
But anybody have anything? No?
I do not.
No. So I'm gonna tell them that the Board of Library Trustees gives it a thumbs up. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Heads nodding.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think we have to take any votes or anything. But
No.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. All right. And that probably should have been. This probably should have been under old business again, but I forgot. I left it where it was. But
That's okay. That's what I thought that was it. But no, okay. All right. And now we'll move on to programming policy draft for review.
All right. So Charles, you had something to say
Oh, no, I
about the
was just-
programming policy
I was
draft.
eager to hear. I wasn't sure if it was going to come up under the earlier discussion point or is it going to show up here. So, yeah, I'm just eager to hear your thoughts and comments about the document that you shared with us.
Okay, yeah. So since we've missed you, so we did. I did have this in the last month for everybody to look at, and Mike had made like a comment about one piece, and Jess had given us a couple other feedback points as well. So what I put in your packets was the basic policy again, and I yellow highlighted the rewritten things or the things I added. So on the first page I had added, because Jess, you had mentioned like, do we want to talk about trigger warnings or something like that? So I'd added a line saying content advisories may be employed if deemed appropriate. So that kind of just covers us if we feel like the content might be something that we want to make sure people know what's involved in that program. I kind of looked up, I did some wordsmithing, like what other words can I use besides trigger warning just sounded like a lot, but content advisory was the other semantic term to use for that. So I'd added that there. And then Mike, I wanted and then the second page, you had talked about, like it seemed a little confusing language around whether attendees could give their names after we just said that they weren't giving their names. So I rewrote that sentence. And you can let me know if that sounds less confusing or not to you. So I changed it to attendees may voluntarily elect to give their names to a presenter at the time of the program. And before it made it sound presenters may ask for, names at the program. And that made it sound like the presenters were, trying to get information after we just said they didn't have to give information. And this way we're saying the attendees are volunteering, to give their names, whether, at the program if they want to. So you can let me know if that's clearer or not. And Jess, whether you like that addition, that line.
I think that's good, and then that way, if they feel just so it's there, so when the presenters see
Right.
it, like if they feel like if they're going to be talking about something or whatever, they're like, oh, okay, I have to either say something or not say something. So. Right.
Yeah. It's like I thought that was a good addition to kind of like cover that potential of someone saying, I didn't know this program was going to have whatever. I mean, we can't cover every possible trigger, but that's we can do what we can do.
And I'm just wondering if we could change that word to choose.
Yep, may voluntarily choose to.
Yeah.
Yep, we can change elect to choose. Sure. So Donna was just saying attendees may voluntarily choose to give their names to a presenter at the time of the program instead of using the word elect.
That's fine.
That's fine with everybody. That's fine. I mean, that's fine with me. Any other commentary on those changes? No. No, Charles, since this is your first run through with it, do you have other feedback?
I was very impressed with the document. I think it really gives a tremendous amount of space within what's possibly likely to happen at an event. creating an awful lot of opportunity for public discourse and opportunity to intervene and present points of view relative to what's being presented. I thought that that was done well, so I was very pleased to see that.
All right, good. Yeah, I stole a lot of it, but that's what we do. We share.
So other libraries have this similar.
Yes, yeah. So I read probably 30 or so different programming policies from different libraries, and then I sort of took all of the things that I thought were the best of it out and put it together, and it really does kind of have everything in the kitchen sink in here, because I really felt like we wanted to cover. You might as well cover everything, right, as much as you can. And then we can always say like, this is what this body is for. We can always change anything again, right? So we can always say like, what, this part of the policy isn't working, let's fix that, or let's add this, or not. So I feel like it's pretty strong. But yeah, lots of some libraries don't have a program. Well, so obviously we didn't have a programming policy, but in the current climate, it's very common now for people to want. I think we need more boundaries, unfortunately, just to make things clear to people, because there is more pushback in the world now against things, just in general, not necessarily say for good or bad. And I actually was talking to the director in Swampscott, who just did a programming policy, and he said that I didn't include it but in the first copy of the policy that you had, I just didn't include it in here, just the form to fill out, which of course we wrote with the intention, thinking someone's going to complain about a program. He said in Swampscott, people are using it to request the return of a program that they used to have and aren't doing anymore. So he was thinking it was going to be like, oh, people are going to be like, I don't like this, and instead people are like, can you bring back like this other thing? And he's like, I did not intend that, but that's what it's being used for, which is not a bad thing.
No,
because it is giving the opportunity for people to have a voice in what we're doing, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing, to hear people's voices. That's what we're there for the library for. So, any other comments?
Are you going to also talk about the Bill of Rights statement that you have here, as well as the Yellow Freedom to Read statement? Because I think, as we're thinking about programs, reading those two other documents make the program policy so much more clear and powerful to understand that there will be differences of opinion about some events that from time to time happen in programming. But understanding how and why programming is as varied as it is in the foundational roots for why that happens in libraries, not just here, but libraries across the nation, it's important for people to read this attendant language that goes back to our constitutional rights to have different points of view and different points of opinions about things presented to the American public so that they can draw their own conclusions with regards to how they feel and want to react to things. And so I think those attendant materials are critical to understanding what our library is going to do and why it goes about what it's doing. So I just want to emphasize how I think it's great that that was attended, and I did read those statements, and I think they were very worthwhile, important, and powerful foundational elements for why libraries exist in the United States in the first place.
Yeah, and I obviously agree with you. And some libraries' programming policies do not have those attached documents, but I forget who I first saw that had them, and I was like, oh, this is a great idea, because it makes it feels like it's backed up, right, with not say facts, but just backed up with why we do what we do.
The principles.
The principles, yep, and they're principles of that our nation is, founded on, and try to work towards. So I do feel like they're important documents as well to include. So if somebody does want to challenge or a program or something like that, to like give them those documents and say, oh, well, here's something for you to read to really show you that this is impactful, and this is why we're having a program like this, no matter where you're coming from and what your opinion is, because people will have opposite opinions, and that's okay. We're all allowed to have our own
Well,
opinions.
I think sometimes, and for the listening audience, I think the public may think everything that happens at the library is 100% endorsed by everybody that's on the board and everybody that's in the administration of the library. Sometimes we have our own differences of opinion about something that we're discussing and being exposed to, but suppressing hearing things that sometimes are not things that I might not endorse or feel comfortable about is part of the whole process of having an open and liberal discussion and discourse about issues in this nation. I mean, I think it's important for us to do that.
Yes, and it's also part of our meeting room policy as well. That any like there are certain rules, right? You have to be a nonprofit, you have to be an organization in town. All those pieces. But I always like to joke, like I don't know. I mean, I know Jess has Girl Scouts and Corey has Girl Scouts, but that I don't know what they're doing in that Girl Scout meeting. Like, could be doing all sorts of stuff with shady things in there for all I know. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing with those crafts. But,
Cookie conspiracy.
Selling or eating.
but that doesn't matter. Like as long as they are following the rules that we have put into place for the use of those rooms, it is okay whatever they're doing for that meeting, right? And that is, I think, been a difficult lesson even for some staff members to know, because sometimes you know that the group that's coming in might be diametrically opposed to your own personal belief system, but that's part of the beauty of intellectual freedom and what we do in libraries is that everybody does and is allowed to have their opinion and their voice, and it doesn't matter where I stand personally on it. This is a group that as long as they behave, they're behaving and they're following the rules that are laid out, they're allowed to be there. So that's and that can be hard. That can be hard for some people to swallow, depending what it is that they know is in that space. But again, it's not. Doesn't matter who's in there as long as they're behaving, and doing the right things, and that's all right. And that's a good thing that we have something like this. And like libraries are a unique institution, and it's a good thing that we have what we have and can do what we do. It really is. So I will say that unless there's any other changes besides the word elect to choose,
Make it more user
I was
friendly.
going to say So, Madam President, I don't know if you would like
Do we want
to like go for a vote for it.
Charles, you comfortable with that? You've read through it?
Yeah, I have read it. Yeah.
Because you were the only one that missed last month. All right, so can I get a motion to?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Second? Thank you, Rini. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is passed.
Yay! Thank
Yay.
you.
All right.
Thank you for putting it together.
Is there any other new business that anybody would like to bring up?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I want to thank Noel for putting the Unit B contract out to us where we could look at it, digest it. And no secret that I was a very strong union person in my 40-plus years in the Danvers Police Department. And looking at the contract and just going back a short time ago when the perfect storm hit, where you and the assistant director were forced with no staff to close the library.
Right.
And so looking at this under the Article 9, not for a big discussion, but I'm just reaching out to you where it talks about employees and their hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it spells it out very clear, and it talks about each employee shall be scheduled to work a shift with regular starting and quitting times. Except for emergency situations, normal work schedules should not be changed unless the union is notified at least 10 working days in advance. Special work weeks and special work schedules and shift schedules not performing to the provisions of this article will not be established unless the union is notified 10 working days in advance. reaching out to you, just asking you as being the director, when it comes to that situation, the word emergency is very important. Okay? Now, in public safety, it's always an emergency. That's what it was always used. Would you deem this situation that we had in the past an emergency?
No. I mean, the library is always considered a non-essential service.
I mean,
Not
the
to
way
me
I'm looking at it
personally,
is
but,
that-
right?
The way I'm looking at it is that they have their hours of work, and then the okay, so you don't go along with that, but and the other part, how many employees do we have that were hired after July 1st, 2024? Do you know?
How many have we hired since?
Have we hired since?
This July?
I mean, do you have a number like 2, 3, 4?
2, I think. 2. I want to say 2.
Because the contract spells it out clear that employees hired after July 24 can be hired to work Saturday or Sunday as part of their regular work schedules. Employees hired before July 24 are not obligated to work Saturdays and Sundays unless they were hired for a weekend schedule.
Right.
That means they can't be forced to work, right?
Right. Yeah. So that was something that was very specifically put into the contract, and that was that referring to the full-time staff, because we do have part-time staff who part of their regular schedule is Saturday and Sunday hours. For the full-time staff, they work a regular Saturday rotation, but Sundays have never been a part of the full-time staff's regular rotation. We do have a current full-time staff member we negotiated with her that she does work every Sunday to be the person in charge. And so her schedule is a little different. But yeah, we can't, but part of the contract was anybody that was pre the contract working for us cannot be compelled, basically, as you said, to work on Saturdays and Sundays, or extra on Sundays, really, for their schedule.
Okay, can you define to me, in your mind, what an emergency situation is? It obviously has to do with staffing.
So this is really how my looking at this is that there is nothing that we have in place at this point in time to be like, if we are, so what we did was our due diligence, right? So we ended up in this situation where we had people out, somebody was out unexpectedly longer, there's vacations, they were sick. So we were down 2 people, and there wasn't really a way in place for me to compel more people. Like we asked all the part-timers if they could fill in. We asked full-time staff if they would fill in. Everybody said no. How am I going to force like people to come in to work? That is the question, right? So, and how would I choose to do that?
I think it spells out your authority right here. What I'm getting at is that we had a situation. Okay, it was unfortunate, but should it happen again, I'm just asking you as the director, who you don't seem to think is emergency, if it has to close again, right?
I mean, if it's, it was as I say, like it was in the 3.5 years I've been here, this has happened one time that this kind of weird situation has happened. So I don't see it as something that's common or something that I should put a lot of contingency plans in place for. I don't know what, that was a question like I've kind of talked about, like we don't have anything in place. So if I asked everybody in this room right here and you all worked for me and you all already had plans, you already were gone, you're already doing other things, how am I making you come in to work? This is the question. Even though I supposedly have that power, how am I making you come into work? If I say, like, Ken, you have to come in because I'm short, like, how is that? I don't see, like, how I really have that power to do that.
So for the police, like, they have like time and a half and sort of stuff.
Yeah, like
when
we
they-
don't
Well,
have we
when
don't
they
have
get over to
anything. Like
work.
we don't have
Right,
overtime.
So that's, they
we don't like
have anything to.
like there's no real way for me to do that with any kind of carrots of any kind to be like, well, come in because you have to.
Well, I guess that I'm confused in my own mind because the word emergency is there, and if closing the library is not an emergency to the director because nobody gets told they have to come to work, then that bothers me.
But what's an emergency? So, and that's it. So, like, what were you going to define as an emergency? Like, that's my question. It's great. Like, the library's awesome. We are open a lot of hours. We're open a lot of hours a week. We're open, besides police and fire, and the DPW obviously too. We're open the most hours in the town of anywhere else.
My
right?
opinion
So,
my opinion is somebody has to work.
somebody has to work.
Somebody has
Yep.
to. The library is open. Somebody has to come to work. Might be you. Somebody has to go to work.
Exactly. If
to-
I was not at a funeral, maybe I would have come in. But,
I know. What
right?
I'm saying is
But
somebody
but
has
this
to come
is
to
not.
work.
I think
But
he's just saying that part of the contract is maybe talking to HR or whatever of how to. There's wording in here that you could possibly figure out. Not you, obviously, but there's more discussion that you could possibly have with the town saying, okay, if this situation happens again, I'm forcing people to come in. What is the repercussion of that? What do the employees get? That's not part of this contract.
right, because right now the way the contract, and it's like I'm not involved with how the
Right.
contract is developed, right? So I did not do the wording of this contract. So I cannot, as far as I can tell, I cannot compel anybody really to come in. There's nothing in there that's saying I can compel them. And what are they going to get if they're compelled to come in? Like there's nothing, right? So that is not in the contract, like what that is, and that's not that's not on me, right? Like so that's between
Yeah.
the town,
I mean,
that's
my
between
only-
the town
my
and
point
the
is that-
staff,
Is that they organize, which is good for them.
right?
Good for them. They have a contract, but they have to work with the contract like you do.
Yep.
You have to work. You have to abide by their contract, and it gives you a lot of authority there when it comes to another situation like that, where you can say somebody has to come to work. That's my point.
Can I ask, did the town management, did the interim town manager have any feedback for the library when we had an unexpected closure due to personnel issues?
No.
So it seems like that would be who ought to take up this issue if there needs to be a correction to the contract. It's a contract between the union and the town management, correct?
Yes.
So I think if the town management is comfortable with the contract, it does appear that you can't compel folks to work, but perhaps the interim town manager or the future town manager could shed more light on that as the
Or the town
I mean, the
attorney.
contract is good
Or
till
the- or the town-
27,
Interpreting
Yep.
that.
Yes.
and I mean, historically, the library's always been a happy place.
Yeah. Well,
Nobody's told what to do for years there. Everybody's happy there, and but sometimes people need to be told to come to work. That's my point.
and I think that is not a lost point on me, but I think there's that piece of the essentialness of the work or not, right? So I mean, you can't not have the police station running. You can't not have the fire department staffed, but the library is considered a non-essential entity. And so how is it an emergency?
Well,
Like that's
if-
where the wording gets in the way.
I'm not sure who's involved in negotiating that contract, but when you're negotiating a contract, you need to be able to have the language you want.
Right.
Now, I don't know who put the word emergency in there, but to me, it's not like the place is on fire, but the library needs to be open.
Right. And
That's all it is. And you're the director. You can tell people you need to come to work.
Well, not without,
That's my point.
not
Thank
with,
you, Madam Chairman.
not without the proper authority given to you and the proper wording, so that then you don't have an issue with the union
Right.
that you arbitrarily picked a person out of the blue. Like there has to be a whole system put in place. So
Right.
this is not necessarily on you right now, by no means. And if this needs to be addressed, it's going to have to be addressed between the union representative and whomever from town hall, whether it be town council or the acting manager, and then you would be given direction.
Right, because right now, because we do not have overtime or anything, there
Right.
is no like, okay, these are the senior people. This is who I have to call to offer something to,
Right.
or not. And obviously, it all complicates on who's already working that day or not. And, who's already on vacation, et cetera, and so forth. But we went through everybody already. Who should have been available, and asked them,
did your
and
diligence.
asked them if they could work, and they declined, said that they could not work. And so then does that mean if somebody's about to go on their family vacation, I said, no, you have to come and work at the library?
Yeah.
Well, for
this
your own clarity, perhaps you should open a conversation with the town manager and HR about what your authority is to compel people to work when there is a quote unquote emergency, and that emergency is shortage of personnel.
Yeah.
It just might be a good thing to have in your
Yeah, no,
consciousness.
I don't have a problem with that.
And an interpretation of the specific policy. Mike, can you repeat what that was again?
Article 9.
It's Article 9, yeah.
Okay, and maybe that can go to the town attorney for interpretation. But as it is now, that's not Noel's.
The language is not there.
Right,
So,
the language is not there, is not explained.
Right.
What the options are that you have, such up to and including if you give a direct order, or to offer further compensation for as an incentive to ask someone to come in to work. So I think that's the point is well taken. That I think that we're all in agreement that this should be looked at, and perhaps some language developed for consideration, and you go back to the negotiation table at the time when such conversations are taking place. That's as much as we can do at this time.
Right, that is as much as we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have a lot to do with
Right.
union contract.
It was
We have
same-
nothing
it's-
to do
they're
with
the
the
same
union
same
contract.
piece.
Yeah.
Like
Other
I
than
don't
we
get
have
to do the
comply.
contract. I'm there, right? But I'm not negotiating the contract, right?
Yeah,
So
so it's,
You weren't involved in negotiating at all?
no, I was just I was present for the negotiations, but I'm not negotiating because it's between the town and
So the town.
it's between it's
town,
not
when you
between
were-
me
when-
and anybody.
when
It's between the
when
town.
the contract was being negotiated, you and the management weren't in a separate room discussing maybe what the union wants and what we should give them, that type deal? They didn't involve you in any way about.
I mean, certainly it was discussed with me, but it's still not my call. Like, we would just discuss whether we liked language or something like that, but, that's not, it's between the town, and the union, it's not me.
If you read this contract and you're aware of what's in this contract, you have a lot of authority here.
Yeah, I know.
Talks about discharging people, disciplining people.
Sure.
Talks all about that. Your authority as a director. And it says
Yeah.
right here about an emergency,
Yes.
and you don't declare it, you don't think it's an emergency. That bothers me. Library's going to be closing?
The library's closed once in 3.5 years since I've been here, Mike. Was it closed in any other time that you can tell me in the previous years? Are we talking about once in a decade? More than a decade? Like, this is not some huge issue that is needing a big solve right
No,
now.
I'm just saying,
I don't think
if
so.
it happens again,
If
you
it
have the authority to make people come to work. That's what I'm saying.
maybe. I mean,
it has to go to the attorney.
it has to. This has to be like worked out. This is
interpretation,
not
yeah.
something
We
that I
can't
don't have
decide.
I don't have an interpretation for that, and that is not. So I don't get to just decide what that means.
Well, your union is working with a contract that we should be educated on. I mean, I'm glad that I got a copy of this because it talks about grievances and with the town. That's perfect. That's good. But what I'm saying is, if management isn't aware, library management isn't aware of what the contract is, or not going to use their authority. In my case, but anyway, I made my point. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Julie?
Somebody at the senior center spoke to me. I guess somebody comes in and talks about different things.
Yeah, Jillian, our outreach person. Yep.
Well, this woman was very, enthusiastic
Oh, good.
about the fact that this is happening and that they think it's great and they asked me to pass it to you that
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. I'll let her know. She's actually just leaving on vacation tomorrow, but I'll tell her when she's back. Yeah, because Jillian does a great job of outreach.
Well, that's what the woman said, and as I say, she just, I guess until a few years ago, that it never happened. So.
Yeah. No.
So this woman just made it a point to speak to me say that she thought it was wonderful that this was happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, community outreach to me has been a huge, important thing that we needed to be doing. And so, when I hired, a position particularly to make sure that we started doing that exact thing.
She must be doing a good job.
She is. She's great. She really does a great job at outreach.
Okay, anything else? No. Well, then can I make a
I'd like to make a motion that we
Thank you,
adjourn.
Second by Ken. All right, all in favor?
What time?
Any opposed?
What time is it?
7:47.
7:47.
7:47.
7:47.
All right, thank you, everybody.